XOTIC Performance.
Hey truck people, welcome to the shop once again. This is a 6-liter Powerstroke. How did we get here? It's a 6-liter Powerstroke. You do the math. Long story short, today's a good day. We're living the stud life. We're doing crankshaft main bearing studs from XOTIC Performance. A lot of reasons to do this. Just like cylinder heads, you start pushing boost, you start making modifications, you got to increase cylinder pressures. Just like lifting a head, you're going to walk the crank. You don't want to lift the crank, you don't want to walk the crank. You want the crankshaft to stay there. This is literally the heart of your beast. Don't want it to go anywhere. So, simple, real simple. Get your engine out. You do not want to attempt this in the vehicle. Trust me, do not try this in the vehicle. Get your engine out, get it secured on a stand. Pull your lower and upper oil pan. Nothing to it. They are M6 bolts. They take an 8mm head. And you'll have this. You'll expose your bed plate. You'll pull your existing main bolts. They are an 18mm. Not a lot to it. Get it down to this point. In full disclosure, when you do this, you need to fully strip your block. You need to pull your crankshaft out. You need to pull your rods and pistons out. You need to install your bed plate with your new bearings. Correction, not with the new bearings, without your new bearings. Install your bed plate, install your studs, torque it down, take it to the machine shop. They need to be line honed. You need to make sure, because the studs have increased clamping force, and it is entirely possible you can distort your main journals. 6-liter bed plates are pretty beefy. Chances are everything will be fine. It's worth it in the long run, though, to just do it right, okay? Now, it is possible to simply spin in new bearings, torque it down, hope for the best. This is a lot of work. Do not compromise with one little step of taking a trip to the machine shop. I know it's a lot of work. I promise you will survive. You can even do it with a broken thumb. That being said, we've got this one ready to go. Like a dummy, I got a little bit ahead of myself in the prep work. We've got our new bearings in, and I chucked the old ones. My mistake. Basically, what I want to show you guys, this is your thrust bearing. It goes between number 6 and number 7. You can tell because it's got your little side walls. There is only one upper half to this thrust bearing. The lower half, the bed plate side, is just a standard main bearing. The best way to tell is by the tang. This is the only bearing that has a different tang compared to your other mains. So if you try to install it in the wrong spot, like back here where you find it in a lot of engines on the very rear, it's not going to fit. You're going to have, if it doesn't jump out at you and you try to torque it down with it in the wrong place, you're going to have a big problem. You can also see the oil is fed through the crankshaft. The oil port is in the block side main bearing, also known as the upper. Now we're upside down, so I don't want to confuse anyone, but the block side bearing has an oil port in it. When you lube your bearing, you want to make sure you don't plug that hole with any kind of assembly lube. You want to make sure oil can flow through the crank unobstructed. That first start is going to be crucial. You want to make sure you get good flow. Now that being said, we're to the point where we've got our crank back in, we've got our bearings set. We want to make sure our holes are clean. We're going to use XOTIC's thread chaser. This is the same tool we use for the head studs. Same thread. It's a 14 by 2.0. You just want to run it down. Now, there goes my light. It looks sharp, but it's just a chaser. This is not a tap. You want to oil this. You want to use whatever you prefer, WD-40, PB Blaster, maybe a little bit of motor oil, that's fine. You just want to run it down through the holes, do every hole, make sure they're clean. You want to do this by hand only. You might hit a few tough spots where you have to use a ratchet. That's fine. Do not use power tools. You want to do this by hand only. You don't want to mess this up. You don't want to gouge these threads. You do not want to ruin your block. Simple concept. So once you've chased all your holes, you want to hit them with some shop air. I'm going to avoid that for the sake of everyone's ears. You want to make sure it's clean, dry, no debris, nothing to it. Let's talk about our parts. Obviously, I've opened this box just a little bit. When these show up, they are completely plastic wrapped, sealed, tamper-proof, however you want to call it. XOTIC does real good stuff with their packaging. Let's open it up. First thing you get, a thank you. Inside, you'll find a sticker, which is the most important part. An air freshener, which we all could use one. And your warranty registration card. You want to use this, you want to register your warranty, and you want to keep this. If there's ever a defect, this will take care of it. Next thing you'll notice, you've got your instructions. Nice quality, laminated, something of that nature. This has your torque sequence, your torque specs. Don't lose this. You're going to need it. Definitely read the whole thing. It's there for a reason. Don't be a man and throw it away. Keep this. Read it. Use it. It will help. Promise. So we're going to set that right there. Let's see what else we got. We've got our assembly lube. Definitely good stuff there. Nice packaging. Comes with the tools necessary. These are 12-point sockets, 1/2-inch drive. You don't have to go buy special tools for this. The only thing you really should have is a good torque wrench. If you don't have a good torque wrench, get one. It's worth it. Like I said, this is the heart of the beast. Don't skimp any steps here. We got your nuts. Built-in, kind of a flange nut. No extra washer. Nothing to worry about there. You got your outer row bolts. A lot of stud kits do not include these. This is a nice touch by XOTIC. Hats off to them. You got an Allen wrench for running your studs down. This is simply to aid you to speed them up. This is not for torquing. You do not tighten the stud in the block. I've obviously opened this one. The studs come real nice. They're protected. You've got a coarse thread and a fine thread. This is your block side. This is your nut side. On these Super Duties, these 6 liters, there are short studs and long studs. You can see there's about a 1/2-inch difference. Short studs go outside, long studs go inside. We'll see that more in a minute. So at this point, we're pretty much ready for some installation. Okay, so a lot of people will thread their studs into the block and then insert their bearing caps. If this was a simple V8, a gasser or something like that, you could do that. 6-liter bed plate is a big, heavy piece. If you install all your studs and then set your plate on, you're going to run a very high risk of not being perfectly square, not going straight down. You're going to gouge a thread. You don't want to do that. Just in case you do, XOTIC does offer single studs. You can go to the website. If you screw up a stud, you can order one single stud. Will you be delayed? Yeah. Is it better than having to buy a whole nother set? Absolutely. Hat tip to XOTIC for doing that. Could save your whole project. So grab your bed plate. We've got our bearings gooped up. She's big and heavy. Very carefully. Set her down. She's still got some oil coming out of her. Wipe her down. Okay. So now that we got that ready to go, we're going to do some studs. Open up our assembly lube. Now I want to show you guys again. You've got a short stud and a long stud. Short studs go outside, long studs go inside. Once you get them all installed, you'll check for uniform height across your deck. It'll make a lot more sense to you if you get one in the wrong spot. You just need a little touch of lube on the block side, not a lot. You can install these into the block with Loctite if you want a more permanent installation. The only key to that is to make sure you get your torque sequence and specs completed before the Loctite sets up. If you take too long, chances are you're going to break the bond of the Loctite, and then it's basically serves no purpose. So set our stud in, spin it down. Perfect. Just a little bit. We're going to do all of our inner studs first, and then our outer studs second. That way we're not confusing ourselves. We don't end up with the wrong stud in the wrong hole. One more thing. When you thread these in, make sure they're bottomed out, and then back them out about a half a turn. The point of that is at a certain point, as you're torquing, when your friction increases, the stud is going to spin. If that stud is already bottomed out in the hole, like deep and hard, you're going to run a risk of driving that stud through the casting. The castings aren't perfect, and each one might be just a little bit different. You want to leave just the tiniest gap between the stud and the block to allow for that stud to turn in as you torque. The directions tell you to run it all the way down by hand, but really I think it's a good idea to back it off just a little bit. If you do enough of these, you'll get to where you feel it. You'll feel that stud turn instead of just the nut. And when that thing's bottomed out and you feel it driving into the block, it really makes you kind of clench up. The stock bolts never bottom out. They're always pulling. There's always a gap, and they're always just pulling on the threads. So ultimately the stud will bottom out and it will stop turning, but you don't want to drive it in crazy hard. So like I said, make sure they're bottomed out, and then you can use your Allen as an index. Just back it out 1/2 turn. Nothing to it. Make sure they're in. Back it out 1/2 turn. And then when we go to install our nuts, we will hold the stud and just gently kind of snug up the nut on the stud before we actually start to apply our final torque. So through the magic of television, we're gonna skip ahead to where these are all installed and we'll get to torquing. Turn, turn, turn. Okay, so we've got our nuts lubed up and we're doing a little installation. And what we're doing is holding the stud while we snug the nut down. Get rid of the excess. There's more than enough lubricant in the pack to do this. You want to be real liberal with the grease here. You want everything to turn freely. And you're just gonna run these down. So another quick little tip, at your local parts store or even local craft and hobby store, this is a little grease brush. Even if you have a small paintbrush, can make life a lot easier. Goop her up with some grease, take your nut, smear it around in there. Make sure you get the bottom side. Make sure you got good coating, and just give just a little quick slip around the stud. Throw her on there. Hold your stud with your Allen key. Run her down by hand. Now, just a quick little snug. We're going to follow our torque pattern too. So we hold this and we're going to pull this just hand snug. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on and so forth. You're going to follow your torque sequence. You're going to work in a circular pattern, working out. Okay, we're ready for torque. Torque spec is 180 foot-pounds. No sequence, no steps. Take that back. There's a sequence, but there's no steps. We're going one big swoop all the way to 180. When you do this, you want to make sure you're set and you're in a good spot. It's a lot of torque, and you want to do it all in one smooth motion. You don't want to be herking and jerking. You don't want to stop in the middle. You would just want to go for the gusto. I got my sequence set right here. We're going to start on the inside. Number 1. Here we go. Oh, there it stopped. Just like that. Whew. I wasn't ready. The sun was in my eyes. The dog ate my homework. So on and so forth. One last thing to remember, your outer roll bolts. These come in the set. That's a really nice touch by XOTIC. These don't come in other sets. You don't have to worry about greasing these up like the studs. These simply run in. It does come with a socket. 12 point, half-inch drive. Torque these to 25 foot-pounds. Nothing to it. Okay, we've got all 20 torqued right down. Don't do like I did and forget to block the wheels of your engine stand and your engine rolls away on you. That was fun. Long story short, get them all torqued, make sure everything's good, crankshaft rotates freely, no binding. You want to look for uniform height in all your studs and nuts. If you've got one protruding, then you probably had an issue with your threads or your hole. Everything from this point is simply reassembly. Throw your upper oil pan back on, like so. Put your bolts in, throw your oil pan on, put the engine back in the truck. Nothing to it. This was the hard part. Getting the engine back in, and that's the easy part. Go out there and fearlessly make smoke.
XOTIC Performance. Built strong. Driven hard.